Hey guys. Part 19. This is what if Naruto took care of Sasuke who turned into a baby. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start. Chapter 46, Sword. During the night, they brought more children. It was very easy, as their master had told them it would be. The kids only had to look at them and easily fell into the genjutsu. When they awoke, they were already tied up neatly in front of the crystal that imprisoned and protected the master's sword. When they regained consciousness, the children were frightened. The youngest cried and asked for their parents, while the older ones tried in vain to free themselves and demanded to know who those men and women were and what they wanted. According to their master's orders, they had to bring all children between 5 and 14 years of age for judgment. So far, the master hadn't yet found what he sought. For decades he had been trapped in his sword, hidden from his enemies. His body had turned to dust long ago, and everyone thought he was gone forever. They were wrong. The body is something ephemeral that grows old, gets sick, and always ends up perishing. But the soul is eternal and indestructible. Nobody knew, but he had been able to protect his soul from going to the afterlife, holding it to his sword. After all, a samurai's sword is his soul. He knew that his followers would have died long ago or had abandoned him once he was defeated by Sanada Yukimura, his son Nobushige, and the busybodies ninjas of Konohagakure. But he had planned everything carefully, and thought of a plan in case he was killed when he tried to take over the islands. He had new followers now. Young men and women that he rewarded with his power, turning them from the pathetic creatures that they once were into real warriors, too intoxicated with their new bodies, intelligence, and power to dare to turn against him in fear of losing it all. After all, who wants to go back to being weak once you taste a bit of power? Despite not having eyes, his spirit looked at the new group of children that their new subordinates had brought him. They were against the wall of the room he had built before he died. In a place where no adult would look, the caves in the children's island. For now, he didn't need adults. They would serve a different purpose. Slight frustrated, he realized that none of these children would do. Until now, his followers had brought only him children from the fisherman's district, the merchant's children and orphans who lived on the streets. None of them would do. They had to bring him the children of the samurai. His crystal began to glow and the children in front of him stopped moaning, feeling his power go through their bodies. Within minutes, he had another group of followers. The following weeks went by quickly. Both Naruto and Sasuke were very busy with their respective lessons. The little raven was more studious than ever, nearly equaling Riku in almost all classes, but always keeping his reputation as second best. When Iruka came to personally test Sasuke in Unmai, the sensei realized that he was even stronger than during his first life at the academy. The boy took the written tests at home and then went with Iruka to the forest behind the lake to test his taijutsu, ninjutsu. Sasuke had to henge into Tsunade, much to his horror, shuriken and kunai throwing and even dispelling a simple genjutsu. Iruka was very impressed to say the least. Sasuke had not only kept his intelligence and natural talent, but he also inherited Naruto's incredible stamina, which meant wasn't even tired after hours of study and training. When Iruka handed him the report card, the raven smiled with joy and ran to his father in childlike glee to show him that he scored 100% in all subjects taught at the academy in Konoha. "Tu-chan! Look! Look! I did it! I scored 100%! I did it! Just like I promised!" Naruto took his child in his arms and embraced him before lifting him up in the air. "That's my boy! I knew you could do it! I'm so proud of you," the blonde father exclaimed, grinning with pride. "Did you see Iruka-sensei? Isn't my son amazing? Just you wait and see. He's gonna turn into a badass ninja." "You two really are parent and child," the sensei thought as he smiled at them. Sasuke grinned before his father's praise, full of happiness. He never had told him that, but all his efforts over the past weeks had been motivated by his desire to become so strong that Naruto would completely forget about his rival. "Nuh! Tu-chan? Iruka-sensei told me to henge into Tsunade Bachan," the 6-year-old child whined, looking disgusted. That was so weird and gross. He made turn into her and talk with her voice. He did, huh? Naruto smirked at his former sensei. That's just regular procedure, Iruka said, blushing slightly. Every student in the academy transforms into the current Hokage. Naruto did the same thing with the Sandaime, though his transformation was really awful. Naruto pouted and put Sasuke back in the ground. Sensei, you shouldn't say that about my henge, the blonde ninja said. After all, you always fell for it. Eh? What are you talking about? Naruto smirked evilly. Killer attack. Naruto made the hand seal. Sexy jutsu. After an explosion, Naruto turned into an attractive nude woman in a very seductive posture, leaving Iruka white as sheet and Sasuke completely appalled. Come on, sensei, she said with a seductive voice and pouting. Don't be a meanie, my henge was not that bad, right? Please don't hurt my feelings. Iruka started bleeding from his nose like crazy and fainted. Content, Naruto dispelled the jutsu. Ah. I knew it, Naruto grinned. You're still so easy to trick, sensei. Tyu-chan. What the hell was that? Sasuke yelled, put out. That was my sexy jutsu, the blonde said, rubbing his neck. It's very useful against weak men. They fall like stones every time. Don't do that again. It's embarrassing. It's useful, Naruto answered back. That's something you will learn, son. Men can't resist a hot naked lady with big boobs. This jutsu may come in handy someday for you. The hell it will. Sasuke cried, red like a tomato. There was no way Sasuke would ever use that perverted jutsu. Naruto chuckled as Sasuke blushed even more. If only the Raven knew that Konohamaru used that same jutsu on girls and women by turning into a nude version of him and sigh in a suggestive embrace. Sasuke, naked, in that position. Wah! Now wait a minute! That's my child is using. The blonde thought, suddenly horrified. What the fuck? There's no way I'm gonna let him use my son as a sex symbol. When Iruka woke up, he was approached by a fuming Naruto who told him to tell Konohamaru that if he ever used the sexy boy-on-boy jutsu again, he would hunt him down and kill him. As promised, Naruto took his son to dine at one of the best restaurants on the island. When the two sat at the table, Naruto gave the menu to his child. Tonight you're the guest of honor, the blonde said with big smile. You can choose anything you want. Really? Yes. Today is a special day, Naruto said. It's not every day that my boy has 100% in a report card. Go ahead. Choose whatever you want. Sasuke chose various dishes from sushi to ramen. After dinner, the Raven still found space in his stomach for cake and a bowl of ice cream. Apparently, Naruto thought with a certain joy, Sasuke also inherited his huge appetite. After leaving the restaurant, Sasuke asked Naruto to go strolling by the sea. The kid seemed so full of energy and joy that the blonde didn't have the heart to tell him no, so they went down the deserted streets to the beach, took off their sandals and walked on the sand, dipping their toes in the waves. Dad? The boy asked, looking at the sea line. HM? Do you think, when I was little for the first time, my Two-san and Ka-san did this with me? Naruto stared at Sasuke. I know you didn't know them, Sasuke continued, kicking the wet sand. But I wanted to know if they were happy when I brought home my report cards. I'm sure they were very proud of you, Sasuke, Naruto said, smiling softly at the little boy. Sasuke lowered his head and stared at his bare toes. I don't think Two-san liked me very much. Naruto blinked, surprised by Raven's statement. Why do you say that? Because I had a few dreams about him, the boy told. In my dreams, Two-san is always talking about Ni-san and how amazing he is. He never talks about me. I don't know if it was real or not, but it makes me feel sad. Naruto knelt on the ground and drew a smiling face on the sand. Sasuke, I can't talk much about your father because I didn't know him, Naruto said. But I'm sure he loved you, even if he didn't say it. How do you know that? Sasuke asked. You weren't there. I am now, Naruto answered kindly, making Sasuke feel all warm inside his chest. You're the best son a father could want. I don't see how your dad couldn't have liked you. You really mean it? Yeah. In fact, I'm a bit jealous of him. What for? Sasuke asked. Because he had you first, the blonde said, stroking the child's raven hair. Feeling happier, Sasuke smiled back. Don't be jealous, Tsuchan. It's okay that you're my second dad, the raven said. I mean, if we're my dad before, it would be weird cause I was older than you, right? Naruto didn't know how Sasuke knew that he was older, but nodded anyway. I guess it would be weird, the blonde said. So it's okay, Sasuke said. It doesn't matter that you were the second, you're still my real dad. Naruto seriously had to control himself, or he would just cry. As he rose up, Sasuke started walking and the blonde realized that even if he somehow went back to their time as teammates in Team 7, it would never be enough. Naruto would still be Sasuke's parent. Once you become a father, there's nothing that can take it back, he thought. These feelings will never go away. Sasuke ran a little ahead of Naruto, innocently playing with the sand and kicking the water. When he was too far ahead, the boy stopped and waited for Naruto, waving to him. Tsuchan, hurry up. You're staying behind. You have too much energy, Naruto said, reaching the impatient child. When the blonde came up to Sasuke, the boy grabbed his hand and continued walking. That's what Iruka-sensei said this afternoon, the raven said, grinning. He said I was becoming just like you. At first, I thought he was scolding me, but then he laughed. Naruto burst out laughing. He said that, huh? It seems that my blood is really inside you, said the blonde. You know? Whenever I finished a mission, Iruka-sensei came to me and invited me to eat ramen with him. He used to do this even when I was in the academy and flunked on a jutsu just to cheer me up. Huh? But he was your teacher. And he said you were very naughty. And I was. Naruto smirked. But Iruka-sensei likes me. It was like we were a family. When I graduated from the academy, he let me eat all the ramen I wanted. It was the best day of my life. You know. Naruto took off his hitite. This was Iruka-sensei's hitite. He offered it to me when I finally managed to graduate. Really? Sasuke stretched his little hands and took the forehead protector, examining it with enthusiasm. Tsuchan? Can I put it on? I want to see how it looks. Naruto shook his head. Sorry, but you can't. The blonde wrapped hitite around his forehead again. The forehead protector means that you are a true ninja. Only when you graduate from the academy you're allowed to wear one. Oh. But that will take so long. Sasuke complained. I wish I were a ninja now. And you'll be. You must be patient, said Naruto, sitting on a rock in the sand. Naruto thought of the old hitite that Sasuke had left beside him when he left to go to Orochimaru. The blonde kept the forehead protector in a drawer in his home over the years, taking it out from time to time and imagining giving it back to Sasuke when he returned to the village, even if it had a huge scratch in the middle. When pain destroyed Konoha, Naruto thought he had lost it forever, but managed to find it amid the rubble of his apartment along with the picture of Team 7. It was like fate. Right now, that same hitite was hidden in a drawer at his home in Konoha. Looking at the boy beside him, Naruto could not wait to give him that forehead protector, after replacing the fabric and fixed that scratch on the metal plate, of course. Sasuke moved away from his father and took a few shells that were near the sea. When he returned, he sat down next to Naruto, and they both gazed at the full moon for some time, hearing only the constant sea waves. One of Sasuke's first memories was when he saw the ocean for the first time. Despite being very young, he remembered very well how he had been excited and happy when he ran for the beach and dipped his feet in the sea's salt water. His dad had followed him and watched him from afar. When a large wave threw Sasuke to the ground, the boy burst out crying and ran to Naruto's safe arms. Sasuke remembered that day particularly well because it was also the first time he saw his daddy cry. The raven had been very frightened. Naruto was always so cheerful and joyful. But that morning, before they went to the beach, he had cried and looked like he was stuck in a trance. He looked so sad that it broke the little boy's heart. For this reason, Sasuke didn't leave his Tsuchan alone at the beach for 1 second and forced him to play with him so he wouldn't feel sad anymore. When they returned home, Sasuke was almost asleep in Naruto's arms, wrapped in a beach towel. The boy did not remember what he had told him, but he knew he had hugged his father tight, and only felt relieved when the blonde started to laugh as usual. He never wanted to see his dad crying again. "You know what, Daddy?" Sasuke asked, handing Naruto the shells he had found. "Here in the islands, the samurai get a real sword when Masamune-sama lets them graduate. Only then they can be called swordsmen." "Really?" "Shigeru-san told me about Masamune-sama," Naruto said. "He told me that he's called the One-Eyed Dragon." "Yeah, but nobody calls him that unless he wants to die," the boy said, remembering when the Kenjutsu teacher took his students to the swords room, where he kept all of his swords. "He has 30 swords, but one he uses more often. It's called Ryukusai. It is very long, and has a dragon carved into the handle. He said he never lost a battle with that sword, and when he dies, he wants to be buried with it." "Swords are very important here," Naruto said. "They say that the sword is the soul of the samurai." "Ninjas also use swords, right, Tuchan?" "We use the katana and the tanto." "Yeah." Naruto looked at Sasuke. "You have a knack for the katana, isn't it? They told me that you are amazing in the classroom." Sasuke blushed, glad that his father had heard about his talent. "Yes. Masamune-sama said I'm good, but I'm not at Rika's level." Naruto put an arm around his son. "Don't lose heart," the blonde said with a warm smile. "I'm sure one day you'll be so good with the sword that they will call you Sasuke-sama, or something. Maybe you'll have a really cool epitaph too." Sasuke smiled and imagined himself as a very powerful shinobi, wielding his sword in the battlefield. "Yeah, that sounded cool. I'll be strong and defeat Riku. I will become the best swordsman in the world. And then, when I become a ninja, Tuchan will acknowledge that I'm way better than his rival. I just got to get stronger, and he will recognize me and pick me." The talk about swords with Sasuke left Naruto contemplative. The boy was a great swordsman, and Naruto thought he should support him more in his choice of weapon. Sasuke's dexterity with the kunai and shuriken had also improved greatly in a few weeks, as well as his taijutsu. And Naruto knew that the Raven was practicing the katan on the lake every day, coming home with some burns around his mouth and lips. However, it was mainly the sword training that motivated Sasuke. Naruto knew that this was due to the growing rivalry Sasuke felt against Riku, which made the blonde smile and remember the many fights and bickering he had with the Raven when they were kids. Whenever Naruto felt nostalgic and told Sasuke about some of his fights and adventures he had with his rival at the Academy and Team 7, the little Raven became very serious and trained even harder. Naruto thought that this was due to his desire to be a ninja as soon as possible so he could also go on missions and adventures, so he wasn't worried. In fact, there was something Naruto had in mind for some time. That morning, instead of going to Shigeru's home and study strategies, Naruto met with the leader of the Sanada in town to help solve a serious problem. Several children had disappeared over the past weeks. At first, they thought the kids had decided to live an adventure and hide from their work in the port. It wasn't the first time it happened, and there were no signs of abduction in their homes. But with each passing day, more children disappeared without trace or reason. So the samurai had to intervene to find out what was going on. All this required that Naruto, Shigeru, and other samurai had to interview the children's parents and hear their tears and entreaties. But they still had no clue of what had happened to them. Naruto used his sage mode to try to find them, but couldn't. He didn't know the chakra of the missing children. Even in Kyuubi chakra mode, all the ninja was able to feel a slight malevolent intent on an island which they called the Children's Island, but was too weak for them to consider a real threat. Probably with just some rowdy kids, the other samurais told him. After a day of searching, they still had no clue, so Shigeru told him it would be better to return home. Shigeru would think of a better strategy and examine the maps of the islands to try to find a hiding place that maybe they were forgetting. "Any Shigeru-san?" the blonde asked as they walked through the streets. "Here on the island, do you know a good swordsmith?" Shigeru raised a brown eyebrow. "There are several competent swordsmiths here," leader of the island said. "Thinking about buying a sword, Naruto-dano?" "No, not for me. It's for my son." Shigeru nodded solemnly. "I heard that your child is a very promising swordsman, you should be proud. Yes, Sasuke is great, Naruto said, not hiding the huge pride he felt for his son. But he still couldn't beat Riku. Your son is really good. I appreciate the compliment to my son. Naruto expected Shigeru to be more happy and proud of his son, but the man remained unmoved and uninterested. Over the past weeks they had spent together, Naruto noticed that Shigeru never spoke of his son. The only picture he had in office was the son who died, Hattori. It was almost as if Riku didn't exist in his life. Naruto liked Shigeru. He thought he was a good, strong and respectable man, but he didn't like the way he ignored his own son. It wasn't right. I bet Riku will also get a sword soon, Naruto said, remembering the brand new sword that was inside a cabinet in Shigeru's office. That sword you showed me the other day? Will you give it to Riku? Shigeru's eyes hardened. I had that sword forged for Hattori on the day he was born. It belongs to him alone, the samurai said calmly but coldly, trying to end the conversation. Riku will receive a sword when the time comes. Naruto wanted to insist, make Shigeru understand that he was rejecting the son he had in favor of the son who died, but the samurai wanted to change the subject. Naruto also could not take the risk of getting angry with Shigeru. There had to be another way to make him understand. If you want to forge a sword to your son, I can recommend you several swordsmiths, the samurai said. Naruto shook his head. Thanks, but actually, I already have a sword for him, the ninja said. Shigeru stared at him confused. If you already have a sword, why you need a swordsmith? Because I was wondering if this sword can be saved, Naruto said. What? Tsunade yelled hours later, in Naruto's kitchen. You want Sasuke's Chikuto? Naruto nodded with a smile. Exactly. Sasuke, for once, had gone to play by the lake near the garden after he arrived from school and trained with Naruto. After all, the Raven was still a child and Naruto had been pleased that his son also wanted to have fun. Of course, Naruto suspected that Sasuke was still going to train the katan in secret again because he wanted to show it to his father when he mastered it. Naruto. Why do you want Sasuke's sword of Kusanagi? If you want to offer him a sword, you can give him a new one. Naruto shook his head. Because that's Sasuke's sword, the blonde shinobi said. That sword belongs to him. He fought a lot with it. That's why I think he should have it back when he becomes a swordsman. You didn't destroy it, right, Bachan? No, Godame said, crossing her arms over her large breasts. I gave the Chikuto to Kakashi and Sakura when I announced that Sasuke was dead. Naruto blinked. Really? And what did they do with it? Tsunade looked out the window. Sasuke still hadn't returned from the lake. The boy had pulled a stick from a tree and had gone to play ninja, daydreaming about his future great adventures. They stabbed the sword into a rock near the Uchiha compound, the blonde Hokage said. Since there was no body, the rock became Sasuke's grave. Naruto widened his eyes and nodded slowly. I see, they also needed mourning, said the blonde. Hardly anyone goes to the grave, Tsunade said. But the sword must be in a terrible state. I doubt that can be reused again. It is best to forget it, Naruto. Buy another katana? No. That is Sasuke's sword and I'll return it to him, Naruto insisted, unwavering. Also, I think I found someone on this island that can save it. The sword is full of rust. It's nothing but a useless piece of metal now. It is impossible for anyone to turn that scrap into a sword again. That sword is dead. Naruto grinned. So we just need to bring it back to life. Though she thought that Naruto was completely crazy, when she returned to Konoha, Tsunade went to Sasuke's grave in the middle of the night. She knew that only Kakashi came to visit the grave from time to time, remembering the student he wasn't able to save from his darkness and hatred. Tsunade knew that sooner or later Kakashi would find out that Sasuke's sword had been taken and probably would talk to her about it. Damn it, Naruto! What a hassle! As she expected, the once fearsome sword of Kusanagi was no more than a bunch of rust. Being careful not to destroy it even more, Tsunade pulled the sword from the stone and the ivy that covered it before returning to Konoha and gave it the frog that Naruto had sent. When the frog disappeared with the sword in his mouth in a cloud of white smoke, Tsunade sighed, hoping that Naruto knew what he was doing. By sheer luck, the copy ninja had decided to visit Sasuke's makeshift grave that afternoon. When Kakashi decided to go away, he smelled Tsunade approaching. Curious and suspicious, the gray-haired ninja hid among the trees and watched intently as the Hokage took his former student's sword of the stone which they used as grave and returned to the village. Kakashi followed her, being careful so she wouldn't feel his presence. When Tsunade walked into her office and closed all the curtains, the shinobi frowned in frustration. It was too risky to move closer and risk being discovered spying on his own Hokage. When Tsunade left the mansion and went back home, Kakashi realized that she didn't have the sword of Kusanagi in her possession. What did she do with the sword? Why had she surreptitiously taken it from the grave in the middle of the night when she could just ask Kakashi, or even Sakura, to give it to her? She didn't want us to know that she wanted the sword, Kakashi deduced. But why? What is the Hokage's interest in a rusty old Chikuto? Kakashi remembered the frogs that Naruto used to communicate with Tsunade. Had she taken the sword at Naruto's request? If so, what did Naruto want with Sasuke's sword? He was the one who delivered it 6 years ago. Removing the 2 bells from his pocket, the old sensei recalled when he accepted Training Team 7. At that time, Kakashi was the one who knew all the truths, guiding his students in hopes to turn them into great ninja, better than he ever was. Naruto. Sasuke, what kind of ninja did you become? Kakashi didn't know how, but he would definitely find out what was going on. Chapter 47 Ghost. As Tsunade had warned, Sasuke's Chikuto was in a very poor condition. Naruto was almost sure that if he hit the sword against the wooden table, it would crumble into rusty pieces. The blonde knew that there was probably no way to fix the sword. As Tsunade said, only a miracle could transform that pile of rust into a weapon again. But Naruto had to try. He would not give up so easily. However, over the past 2 weeks, he still hadn't gotten the time to do it. Tsunade had come to visit him 3 times, once as Sasuke's doctor and the other 2 to talk about the sword and how things were back in Konoha. As she expected, Kakashi had told her that Sasuke's sword had disappeared and the Hokage, avoiding looking at his eyes as much as possible, had told him it was likely that someone had took it. The copy ninja agreed and did not discuss the subject any further, but something in his attitude left Tsunade very uncomfortable. Naruto wasn't worried about his sensei. Instead, the blonde was impatient to fix the Chikuto. He could hardly wait to see his son's face when he offered him the sword. He was going to be so happy. "Tu-chan?" A very sleepy voice called, coming from top of the stairs. "Are you downstairs?" Naruto stood with a hop, looked to all sides and hid the sword inside the pantry. A second later, Sasuke entered the kitchen, his hair messy and still in his pajamas, scratching his left eye. Good morning, Sasuke," greeted Naruto, trying to look as normal as possible. "Good morning," the boy replied, sitting on a chair and staring at his father with a pout. "You didn't come to wake me up today." Sorry, son. I woke up early, so I came to the kitchen and lost track of time," the blonde shinobi replied, walking to the refrigerator. "I'll make your breakfast in a sec, okay?" Sasuke stared at Naruto in silence while the latter took the milk from the fridge, the cups and dishes from the closet. The Raven knew his dad was acting strange. Lately, Naruto spent a lot of time away from home because of the missing children, and he only returned at night to dinner. But even when he was at home, Daddy looked distracted and almost didn't talk with Sasuke like they used to. Things were different, and it wasn't a good different. When Tsunade had come to visit, Naruto seemed eager to send Sasuke to bed so he could have a grown-up talk with the Hokage. The little raven obeyed, but couldn't resist his curiosity, and went downstairs to listen to them on the sly. However, he didn't dare to approach the kitchen door. He was not going to underestimate the skills of 2 elite ninjas who would know they were being spied upon, so he stood leaning against the runner or sitting on the wooden stairs, trying to hear some of the words stifled by the sound of the closed door. Unfortunately, he was unable to hear what they were talking about, just a few sentences, but the boy knew what they were talking about Konoha and he heard his father asking questions about Sensei. Without doubt he was referring to his old Jonin guide that was still in the village with the rest of the team. By the way he spoke, He didn't have to be a genius to realize that Naruto truly missed them. "Here's your breakfast," the blonde said, placing a cup of hot milk in front of the child. "Thank you," the boy replied, noticing that Naruto hadn't made anything for himself. "You're not gonna eat too, Chan?" "I already ate my breakfast when I woke earlier." "Oh," the raven answered, lowering his dark eyes and continuing to drink his hot milk. "Yesterday you had shuriken practice, didn't you?" "Ah? Yes." Sasuke's face lit up with a sudden joy, excited to talk with his father about his feats. "We had to throw 30 shuriken against the targets that were in the tree's branches of the training camp." "It sounds tricky," Naruto said. "Not really. I got 25 targets," exclaimed the raven. Unfortunately, Riku had got 28, but he wouldn't tell that part of the story. 25? That is really good. "Well done," said Naruto, stroking his hair. Sasuke blushed and smiled. That was what he wanted, that Papa was impressed with him, and proud. "It was easy, Daddy," the boy said, unable to stop smiling. "It was like you said, I just had to focus on the targets." Naruto laughed softly, grabbed on milk package and put it inside the fridge. "You're luckier than I was. Concentration was never my forte. It took me years to get concentrated during training," Naruto said. "When I was a kid, I got distracted with everything. I just wanted to go play rather than train for hours or study some boring scroll. Later, when I was already a genin, our sensei wanted to teach us to climb on trees using chakra in our feet. I only managed to go up 1 meter before slipping and falling to the ground." As he recalled that training, Naruto burst out laughing. "I was still moaning from the pain when my teammate said that it was easier than she expected. We were all mouth open when we saw her on top of one of the highest branches of the tree. Of all of us, it was her that could better control her chakra. We still haven't learned how to climb trees using chakra," Sasuke explained, interested in this useful ability. "How do you do it?" Naruto's smile got even wider. Naruto remembered what Sakura had said. It was night. He was cold, dirty, scratched and filled with bumps in his head for having fallen so many times from that stupid tree. The only thing that made him feel better was knowing that Sasuke, despite already having gotten higher than him, god damn it, also seemed to be having trouble reaching the top of the tree. It was time to follow Sakura's advice and seriously concentrate. Focus. Focus, the ninja blonde thought, feeling his chakra move under his feet. "Okay, this is going well. Okay, I can do this." Feeling confident, Naruto jumped forward. "Hey! Naruto!" With bulging eyes, the blonde tripped and fell flat on the floor. "Damn you!" Naruto growled, lifting his scratched and dirty face from the floor and glaring Sasuke with his angry blue eyes. "Don't bother me when I'm concentrating." Well," the raven boy mumbled. Unlike to what was usual, Uchiha Sasuke did not growl nor stared at him with conceit. Strangely, the raven seemed nervous and uncomfortable. "What?" Naruto asked, sitting on the floor and staring his rival with an angry and intrigued face. "It's rare for this guy come talk to me." Sasuke diverted his gaze for 1 second, before forcing himself to stare at Naruto again. "You asked Sakura for tips before, right?" The Uchiha stammered, actually blushing and diverting his eyes again with a pout. "What did she tell you?" Naruto's eyes widened with astonishment. Sasuke, the magnificent and brilliant Uchiha Sasuke, the guy who never needs anyone, Mr. Perfect, was asking him for help? The amazement in Naruto's face was gradually replaced by a huge smile of satisfaction. "I won't tell you," the blonde said, feeling maliciously happy. "What?" exclaimed Sasuke, with such an outraged expression on his face that looked like he had swallowed a lemon. "It has everything to do with concentration and keeping the chakra flow under your feet steady," Naruto explained. Unlike at that time, now he didn't care to finally share Sakura's tips with Sasuke. Better late than never. If you use too much chakra, you'll be propelled from the wall or tree. If you don't use enough chakra, you'll slide and fall to the ground. You must find the right amount, and keep it always constant. Sasuke agreed, assimilating all information. "Did you take a lot of time to learn how to climb on trees? It is very difficult?" Well, it depends, Naruto explained. For those who have a knack to control their chakra is very easy, like it was for my teammate who managed to do it right the first time. It took me 2 whole days to learn it. Naruto smiled with satisfaction and nostalgia. That bastard too. The smile on Sasuke's face withered immediately. Once again, Naruto was speaking about his rival. Lately, whenever they spoke, his father always ended up talking about him, like he couldn't think about anything else. Now that I think about it, I might have taken the double or triple the time to climb to the top of the tree if he weren't there, Naruto said, lost in happy memories. Because he was also in trouble and because none of us wanted to lose against each other, we strived to the utmost. In the end, we reached the top of the tree at the same time. We had to return home leaning on each other because we were both so exhausted. Sasuke felt his heart ache. He knew, by looking at his longing smile, that Naruto wanted to be with his friend/rival again, having adventures and missions like they used to, instead of being there at home with him. Papa didn't forget his rival. I didn't want to forget him, and was always thinking of him. It just wasn't fair. Can you teach me? Asked the boy. Later, after school, can you train with me? Naruto became thoughtful. He had plans after work. Today will be tricky. I'll try to arrive early at home, okay? Or maybe we could train tomorrow instead, the blonde shinobi said. Sasuke lowered his eyes. Still thinking about the sword and the amount of work he still had to do, Naruto didn't notice Sasuke's disappointment. Moving quickly, the ninja picked his jacket and prepared to leave the house. Well, I have to go to work. Shigeru-san must be waiting for me already, Naruto said, as he put on his sandals. You're going? So soon? I have to go. More and more children are disappearing in the fishermen and merchants district, and we still didn't find any clues, Naruto explained, looking at Sasuke with a serious gaze. That's why I don't want you to be home late, and no training after the sun has set. Don't talk to strangers too, no matter how very friendly they look. Sasuke rolled his eyes. I already know that. You've said it 1,000,000 times, Too-chan. I'm not stupid. I know, but you can't be too careful, Naruto said, remembering the family's agony that he had seen. Just thinking that the same could happen to Sasuke made his stomach twitch. However, the small raven didn't take his father's words of as loving concern. He was a student at the academy, a future ninja and one of the best students of the school, but despite everything, his dad continued to underestimate him and treat him like a dumb and weak kid who couldn't defend himself. Sasuke dropped the spoon inside the empty cup. You don't trust me? Huh? Sasuke, this has nothing to do with trust. I just want you to be safe. The blonde looked quickly at the clock on the wall. I have to go. See you later, okay? Sasuke stood up and followed Naruto to the lobby. When will you come home? Asked the boy. I don't really know. Naruto replied, thinking about the sword. I'll go home as soon as possible, okay? Be good. With a jump, Naruto disappeared amid the neighbors' rooftops in less than a second. With a sigh, Sasuke closed the door and slowly climbed the stairs to get dressed and go to school. Things were definitely different. Naruto had already been busy before, but this time it seemed that he was always distracted with something. When Sasuke tried to find out why, the blonde said he was just tired and worried about the missing children. Though he couldn't explain it, the raven knew there was something more. He and his father had always been very close, with a father and son relationship a little different from the other people but still very special. In addition to being family, they were also friends. For Sasuke, Naruto had always been his best friend and the person who knew him better than anyone. They had always been a unit, a team, and the boy couldn't imagine his daddy with anyone else. Until he found out how important his teammates were for him. He felt, they were very special to Naruto and the bonds that united them were stronger than friendship or companionship. Sasuke was never bothered with his father's friends before and he even liked them, but the mere allusion to his former team made the raven feel sad, lonely and threatened. Sasuke felt they were stealing Naruto from him. The boy knew he was being childish and selfish for wanting that his papa would love him more than his friends who were in Konoha, but it was stronger than him. Especially when Naruto spoke of his rival. Each time this happened, Sasuke felt something separate him from his father. When Naruto spoke of his rival and was lost in his memories of him, his presence was almost palpable, as a ghost. Whenever the blonde ninja spoke of the rival and the adventures they had had together, with a smile on his face, the raven boy felt invisible and left out. It was like if Naruto had forgotten all about him because he couldn't stop thinking about his precious rival. In those moments, Sasuke felt he was the ghost and the rival was the one who was real. Papa just wants to do stuff with his rival, the child thought. He wanted him to be here instead of me. Sasuke didn't know what to do and lacked the courage to ask his dad how he really felt. He was afraid to find out that he was the second choice, because Naruto could not be with the one he really wanted. Although it had been over several weeks, Riku still hadn't met the famous Uzumaki Naruto. Of course, his grandmother had told him that Naruto had come to their house and that they had talked and ate cakes together before Shigeru took him to his office, but Riku doubted the description she made about the war hero. According to Kiyomi, Naruto-chan was very young, practically a kid, very funny, honest, cheery and affable. Riku had frowned when his grandmother told him that. The boy had known dozens of important warriors and diplomats, although he only had greeted them by a matter of good manners before his father told him to leave. All of them were serious and boring, many of them were quite arrogant about their power and bragged about it constantly. Riku didn't expect Naruto to be any different. With Sasuke, he had been slightly impressed. The Raven was better than he had imagined and it took almost a minute to defeat him in his first fight with the katana, breaking his record of 30 seconds per fight. Sasuke was smart, talented, and with a lot of potential. If Riku was careless or underestimated him, he could even lose. After the first day of classes, Riku noticed that Sasuke had improved, doing everything to defeat him. It was interesting and it was good to have someone who was actually a challenge from time to time. Sasuke's presence made Riku train even harder than before. As always, the silver-haired boy left school, ignoring the other children's requests to go play with them. Despite his indifferent attitude, the other students seemed to look up to him. Riku always wondered if they would like him as much if he wasn't the son of the island's leader. Had Hattori ever felt like that? Probably not, thought the boy, feeling grumpy as always when he thought about the lovable and precious Hattori. Everybody worshipped Hattori. He was perfect. Riku couldn't think of Hattori as an older brother. He did it when I was younger, and it had been a big mistake. When he was about 4 years old, Riku had disobeyed his grandmother and fled to the west wing of their mansion, where his father's office and his bedroom were. At that time, the boy just wanted to peek into Shigeru's office because he had heard that it was filled of swords and other treasures. In his innocence, he believed that if he were real good with the swords, his father would spend more time with him rather than be always working. His grandmother had told that his father was a very important man, and that was why he couldn't play with Riku like the other children's parents. The boy felt sad but also proud to be the son of such an important person. His father was very special. When he got to the office, he couldn't open the locked door. Disappointed, but curious, Riku decided to explore the other rooms. After all, that was also his house, wasn't it? Why wouldn't he see the other rooms too? Still laughing, Riku opened several doors and peeked inside. Most of the rooms had only boring books and documents, so the boy's excitement began to vanish. He was about to give up when he opened one of the last doors of the corridor. It was a kid's room. A boy's bedroom with toys everywhere, on the shelves, within boxes on the floor, on top of the bed. It was better than a toy store. Excited, Riku entered the room and climbed onto the bed, grabbing a huge teddy bear that was almost as tall as he. Why anyone didn't tell him that there was a cool room there at home? The answer came in the form of a family photo in the bedside table. Riku recognized immediately his father. Despite he was laughing, he had never seen his dad smile before. Alongside Shigeru was a beautiful woman of brown hair and, in their midst, a boy a little older than Riku who looked a lot like his father. Hattori, the boy thought. So that was his Nissan? The brother who had died. Was this his bedroom? Riku looked around again to the toys. Hattori's toys. It would have been fun if his brother was alive and the two could play together. But Hattori had gone to heaven together with his mommy, so he couldn't play with his toys anymore. Riku supposed that his Nissan wouldn't mind if he played with them now. There was no harm, so he grabbed a box and started to play with the action figures that had belonged to his big brother. Sometime later, or maybe hours because he was having so much fun, Riku heard the door open behind him. Shigeru was looking right at him, his brown eyes bulging in awe before the littered toys. "Hi, Tu-san. Look what I found!" the boy exclaimed with a smile. Shigeru's expression changed from astonishment to indignation and fury. "What do you think you're doing?" With a quick and blunt movement, the man grabbed Riku by his sweater and pulled him from the bedroom. "How dare to come here and touch his things?" Shigeru dropped Riku in the hallway and the boy fell to the floor, feeling his eyes filled with tears and fear before his father's the fury. I just want to play," the child sobbed, while Shigeru placed all toys in the exact places where they had been before. "Sorry, Tu-san. I just wanted to play with Nissan's toys." Shigeru became tense, as if it were the first time he had related Riku to Hattori as brothers. And this thought appalled him because it threatened all memories he had of his son and wife. "Get out of here," the man said, trying and failing to control his voice. His son's shrine, the bedroom which he had kept untouched since Hattori had died on that same bed, had been tainted by that intruder. "Never come to this room again, you hear? Never again!" Riku burst out crying and sobbing, shrinking against the wall. "I'm sorry. This room, these are Hattori's toys. They're not yours. Sorry. Don't you ever touch my son's things again." "My son. Not your brother, but his son." Because Riku was not his son as well. It was then that Riku finally realized the truth that his grandmother had tried to protect him from for so many years. His father had never loved him. He didn't even think of Riku as his child. Hattori would always be his true son and heir. Over the years, as Riku found out more details about his birth and how his father had treated his mother and broken her heart, his hatred against Shigeru and Hattori increased. Riku could never be equal to Hattori in his father's eyes, not even a replacement. He had been a mistake, a baby that Shigeru had never wanted. Parents were supposed to be happy when their child is born. Shigeru had been horrified. Every time Riku won a prize at school, celebrated a birthday, or was told that he'd be a great leader, the look on Shigeru's face was crystal clear. He wanted Hattori to be the one living it all. Hattori, the true heir and not Riku, the child who should never have been born. With a precise movement, Riku hit on target that he placed atop one of the trees along the river. Today he didn't feel like training in the family dojo. Shigeru would be working at home now, and whenever this happened, the silver-haired boy tried to keep as far away from him as possible. The two of them, besides sharing some blood, were nothing to each other, much less a father and son. Riku wasn't Shigeru's son, he was Rei's son. Hattori would always be Shigeru's son. Riku didn't need to be home and remember this whenever the Sonata leader stared at him, wishing that Hattori was there in his place. Let Shigeru cry for his dead firstborn forever. If that's what he wanted, he deserved to be miserable until the day he died. "Like I care," the boy said, throwing a kunai against the tree. "I don't give a damn." One of the kunai failed the tree and flew towards the road, at the very moment a blond man was walking by. "What the hell?" the man shouted, jumping and avoiding the sharp knife from piercing him. "Damn it! I'm sorry!" Riku yelled, staring at the dumbfounded man on the road. The blond man looked back at Riku, blinked and fetched the lost kunai. To the boy's surprise, the man went down the road and handed him the knife with a strangely relaxed smile for someone who almost got stabbed. "Here you go," said the man, landing the kunai in the boy's pale hands. "Ah, thank you, Nissan," Riku replied, confused. The blonde looked at the targets on top of the trees and to the marks Riku's wooden sword had left on the trunks. "So, were you training?" the man asked. Riku nodded. "You're Riku, right? Shigeru-san's son?" Riku nodded again. Despite never having seen that man before, it was not uncommon that people knew him through Shigeru. The blonde had a relaxed and curious expression on his face, and the boy could have sworn that he was not one of the islets. He could only be a tourist who had been visiting the warriors' district. He also seemed a little lost. "You're very good," the man praised, looking at the targets. "Thank you," the boy answered. "Are you looking for something, Nissan?" The man blinked. "Eh? It is that obvious? You seem lost." "Right." The man crossed his arms behind his head and smiled with embarrassment. "I don't know these streets, and I'm looking for someone. I know this island like the back of my hand. I also know most of the families. Want help to find this person?" Rika placed the kunai in his pocket. The man was friendly and seemed harmless. In addition, it was the obligation of all islanders to help a visitor in trouble. "Will you help me?" "That's great. Thanks," the blonde replied with a huge smile, almost childish. "No problem," Rika replied, climbing the road with the blonde man beside him. "Are you looking for whom?" "Ah. His name is Muramasa," he said. "He's a famous swordsmith, I think." Rika stopped and looked more closely to the blonde stranger. Only then did he notice that the man had a package in his right hand with the format of a sword. What kind of tourist was he? Nobody outside of the islands knew Muramasa-sama, and no samurai would reveal his name so easily to a stranger. "Why do you want to find him?" asked Riku, suspicious but also curious. "I wonder if he can repair this sword." He pointed to the package in his hand. "Is in very poor condition, but I was told that he was the best." Riku frowned. Was that man a warrior? Seriously? Muramasa-sama is the finest swordsmith in the world, but he stopped forging swords years ago. He says he can feel the sword's spirit, so people think he's a little crazy, Riku explained. Sword spirit? And you believe him? Asked the blonde, surprising Riku because she was talking to him as if they were both adults and wanted to hear Riku's opinion. The man was not adulating him or pretending to be interested with what he said, and that made him happy. I think he is a very wise man, the boy replied, happy. I don't know if the swords have a spirit or not, but if someone is able to know, that is Muramasa-sama. Nobody knows swords better than him. Really? He looks like an interesting person, the blonde man commented. Right. But he hasn't been working for a long time, the boy said, going up a trail towards a secluded house in the middle of the mountain, with the blonde man in tow. I don't know if he'll want to fix your sword, Nissan. Then I'll just have to convince him. By the way, this sword is not for me. The blonde looked to Riku with a mischievous smile. Please, don't tell anything to Sasuke. Riku blinked and stopped, completely confused. Sasuke? You know him? I'm his dad, said the blonde, oblivious to Riku's fallen jaw. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. It is a pleasure to finally meet you, Riku. Sasuke talks a lot about you. Muramasa's house was small but neat. The man should have made fortunes forging swords, but he hadn't spent the money on luxuries, preferring to live quietly at the top of the mountain. Naruto hit the wooden door twice but didn't hear any response. Beside him, Riku peeked through one of the windows. I think he is not at home, the boy said. Oh crap! Naruto mumbled, crossing his arms around his chest with a pout. Riku approached Naruto. He still couldn't believe that A, this was the famous Uzumaki Naruto, and B, he was Sasuke's father. Riku wasn't surprised that they were so different physically. After all, Riku did not resemble Shigeru at all. The boy was perplexed because they had completely opposite personalities, like day and night. Naruto stared at the sunset. It was late and Sasuke should be waiting for him, but even if he were home now, they wouldn't be able to train together. It was too late. If only he had left Shigeru's home sooner. Well, I didn't expect to have guests at this late hour, a calm voice said, coming from the woods. Riku smiled and walked away from the window with a hop. Muramasa-sama! Exclaimed the boy. Naruto was surprised to say the least. From what he had heard from Shigeru and Riku, he had imagined Muramasa as an elderly and hunched man, with a long white beard and a face full of wrinkles. Instead, the man who approached them was young and good-looking, with long light blonde hair and a wise but kind look in his green eyes. It's good to see you, Riku. You've grown, said Muramasa, landing a hand on the boy's shoulders before looking at Naruto. I didn't expect a visit from the hero of the Fourth Ninja War. It is a great pleasure to finally meet you, Naruto. Ah? You know who I am? the shinobi asked, visibly surprised. I may live on a mountain but like to keep informed. Muramesa's gaze fell in the wrapping that Naruto was carrying. I believe you wish to talk. Let's go inside. Muramesa opened the door and went into his house, followed by Naruto. Riku looked to the sunset and pondered whether he should go home, but chose to stay and listen to Naruto and Muramesa, which was much better than having dinner while avoiding looking at Shigeru. After they all sat around a small wooden table in the living room, Naruto looked at Muramesa carefully. Muramesa-sama, I know that you don't work with swords anymore, said Naruto, landing Sasuke's Chikudo, still wrapped, on the table. But I had to come here and ask you if you could help me fix this one. Through several seconds, no one spoke. Muramesa only stared at the wrapping with an inscrutable expression, as if he saw something that others were not able to see. This sword is not yours, the swordsmith said finally, surprising Naruto. This sword belongs to somebody else, right? Naruto nodded, confused and bewildered by the mysterious swordsmith. Riku, on the other hand, didn't expect it any less from the great master Muramesa. Can I open it? Asked Muramesa. Oh. Yes, sure. Muramesa was not surprised at the poor state of the sword of Kusanagi. Instead, he picked up the Chikudo carefully and examined it for minutes, in complete silence. This sword has seen a lot of blood, tears and despair, the swordsmith said, gazing on the rusty blade. It is a strong sword. It held the power of many jutsus. It was a sword designed to kill enemies and met much hatred. Muramesa's eyes crossed with those of Naruto. Can you restore it? The young ninja asked. You don't want it for yourself, Muramesa said, without taking his green eyes of Naruto's face. No, I don't. I want to offer this Chikudo to my son. Riku looked surprised. Why would anyone want to offer that old sword? This sword created a lot of pain. His owner too, continued Muramesa. The one who used this sword was consumed by hatred, thirst for blood and revenge. This sword has a very dark past. Naruto nodded slowly, feeling that Muramesa knew more than he was telling. I know the damage that this sword caused, Naruto said. I know that there is no forgiveness for the things that the owner of this sword did. Then wouldn't it be better to destroy it? A sword that caused so much pain and sorrow. Naruto shook his head. Destroy it won't erase all crimes that happened, the blonde said. His serious blue eyes fixed on Muramesa's face. It won't change anything. But if there is still a chance, this sword can be used for good purposes. It can still be saved. Even if the crimes cannot be forgiven, although it cannot change the past, we can only move on and try to create a better future. Riku didn't understand the conversation between the two adults, who seemed way too serious to be talking about an old rusty sword. Finally, Muramesa blinked and smiled. With delicate movements, he wrapped up the Chikudo and stood up from the table. I will give my best to restore it, the swordsmith said. Really? Thank you? Thanks so much, Naruto exclaimed, with a huge smile. And you, Riku, not a word to Sasuke. I want it to be a surprise. Okay, replied the boy, a little awkward with Naruto's cheerfulness. After Naruto and Riku were gone, Muramesa brought the Chikudo to his old workshop. He had forged millions of swords in the same location for 90 years. Some of his swords still existed despite its owners had already died many decades ago, saved and protected from the elements, as if they had been frozen in time. Unconsciously, Muramesa touched the small violet crystal which he had been wearing in a necklace around his neck for 75 years and asked himself, once again, how much time he had left. Sasuke was angry when Naruto got home late and couldn't train together. The Raven knew his father probably couldn't make on time, still he had waited outside, hoping he had been wrong. You're never home now, the child complained, pouting. You are always working. The blonde felt bad about having disappointed his son, and tried to make it up to him by cooking dinner together, and asking the Raven what he had learned in school and how his training was going. Sasuke spoke excitedly during the dinner, but Naruto couldn't help but think about mysterious conversation he had with Muramesa. What the swordsmith had said about the sword of Kusanagi, about Sasuke, was amazingly accurate. It was as if he knew what had happened and that Naruto had intended to return the Chikuto to its original owner. Naruto had the impression that they were no longer talking about the sword but the impossibility of Sasuke to live with everything he had done, and that the best would be to kill him along with the sword. But that was wrong. Killing Sasuke and eliminating all traces of his existence was not going to change what had happened. Those who had died would still be dead. Sasuke would have to live with what he had done, even if no one would ever forgive his sins. He was not a lost cause. He was no monster. Naruto knew he was a good person. He always had known it even when they were genin. Even at the end, when everything seemed hopeless. Two-chan? 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 Naruto blinked and looked toward the child in front of him. Huh? What was it? You weren't even listening, Sasuke said. Oh. Sorry, Sasuke. Was thinking about something else, the blonde apologized. Can you say it again? Sasuke landed the bowl on the table. Were you thinking about him again? Asked the boy. Your rival? Ah? Well, actually was. Sasuke's lower lip started to tremble. Of course, whatever he had to say didn't come close to the memories of that guy. He was the one who mattered. If you miss him so much, why didn't you just ask Tsunade Bachan to bring him here? Asked the Raven, wanting to see closely the enemy who he had to deal with. Naruto smiled sadly. That's not possible. Huh? Why not? He is not in the village, replied Naruto. He left Konoha a long time ago. The pain in Naruto's words was so strong that even Sasuke was able to feel it. Naruto didn't want his rival to go, and he still missed him, because he still loved him very much. Perhaps more than anything. More than me, the Raven thought, feeling his eyes burning and his throat tight. Sasuke? You don't want to eat more? Naruto asked. I'm not hungry. I'm very tired, so I gonna sleep now. Ah? But it's early. Are you sick? Would you want me to go get the thermometer? No. I'm just tired. Night. Jumping from his chair, Sasuke left the kitchen and ran up the stairs. When he arrived at his room, he was already crying, filled with sadness and jealousy. Damn you, Uzuratanki! Sasuke said between his tears. You don't get me at all. Sasuke and Naruto were walking down a road. Everything was quiet except for the sound of the birds and leaves on the trees. Suddenly, Sasuke heard something and turned around. A few meters behind, there was someone walking towards them. A man with dark hair, or maybe a boy. Two-chan. There's someone following us, Sasuke said, but Naruto kept walking. The man started to walk faster, and Sasuke realized that he could see right through him. He was a ghost. Two-chan. There's a ghost following us, Sasuke said, but the blonde didn't seem to have heard him. The ghost was getting closer and closer. He was going to catch them. Daddy, we have to run! Sasuke screamed, but Naruto still ignored him. Daddy? Sasuke tried to grab his father's hand. To his dismay, his hand passed right through Naruto. What? Sasuke looked at his hands. They were transparent. No, not only his hands, his whole body was see-through. Sasuke was the one who was a ghost. Hey! Naruto! The blonde ninja turned around and smiled at the man. Hey there, team! Naruto answered. What are you doing here? Team? But that's what you usually call me, the boy said, being completely ignored. Why are you calling him that? I came looking for you, Uzuratanki, the mysterious man said, rolling his eyes. That's what I call Two-chan. I'm the only one who does it. What are you doing to me? Sasuke yelled at the man and tried to punch him, but he couldn't touch him either. Besides, his body was fading even faster. He was disappearing. Naruto, I came to take you home. We have missions to do, the man said. All right. Finally some missions, Naruto answered cheerfully. Let's go. No! Daddy, you can't go! Sasuke screamed, trying to grab Naruto in vain. Why can't you hear me? I'm right here. Please don't let me disappear. Ignoring the raven-haired child, Naruto started to walk away. When Sasuke tried to follow him, the dark-haired man blocked his path and stared right at him with a grin. "You can't go with him anymore," the man said. "I'm the one who's real. You're just a ghost who needs to fade back into darkness." "No! I'm not a ghost," Sasuke cried. "I'm real. I'm real." "Humph! Pathetic," the dark-haired man said, before following Naruto. Sasuke tried to run towards them, but he found out he couldn't move. His legs vanished into thin air, followed by the rest of his body. Not long, Sasuke completely faded away. Sasuke woke up trembling and panting. With his hands, he touched his face, his chest, his legs, making absolutely sure he was still there. That he wasn't a ghost. He must have made some sort of noise, because he could hear his father opening his bedroom door and walking down the hall towards his room. Sasuke pulled the sheets over his head and pretended to be asleep when Naruto opened his bedroom door and walked inside. The raven-haired boy closed his eyes and remained motionless while his father touched his cold forehead. After that, the blonde left the room only to come back minutes later with a warmer blanket, which he placed on top of Sasuke before laying next to him. Sasuke didn't know if his dad knew he was awake. He probably knew, but went along with it. So when the boy moved and reached out for him, Naruto stretched his arms and simply hugged him, pulling his head into his chest, without a word. When the older ninja finally fell asleep, Sasuke felt like crying again. "Why, Daddy? Why do you keep thinking about him? Why can't I be enough?" the child thought, grabbing Naruto's shirt, as if trying to secure his place in his father's heart. "Please don't let him take my place. Please. I don't want to disappear." That's it for part 19. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.